We have a .1 network, so if I hover over my PC, I see it as an address of 1.2. I hover over my router, I see it as a 1.1 for the default gateway, and a 2.1 that goes across a serial link. So the router, it has a 2.2 to link up with the previous router, and it has a 3.1 linked out to that network. And then finally this PC, it's in the .3 network, it's a 3.2. And now we can use router RIP. So before, we had to go in the router and we had to specify every single route, which could take up a lot of times, especially if you get a bunch of routers. So we're looking at what is called a dynamic routing protocol. And with a dynamic routing protocol, it saves you a lot of work, and the routers actually talk to each other. And the rest of this book talks about dynamic routing protocols and the difference between them. So they have different algorithms that they work off of. And each has their own perk. The biggest drawback to RIPv1 is it doesn't do classless IP addressing. It doesn't do the subnetting. It just does classful routing. But we'll show you how it works, and you'll be really shocked at how easy it is. I'm going to go ahead and go into Enable, config T. I'm going to say router. If I do a question mark, I can see I can do BGP, EIGRP, OSPF, and RIP. Now this book covers RIP, OSPF, and EIGRP. Border Gateway Protocol is generally more of a CCNP type thing, so a little bit higher up level. It's a lot more with the bigger networks rather than just the local networks. So I'm going to say RIP. I'm going to press enter. So now this router right here is running the RIP routing protocol. And I need to specify some networks. So in these networks, they're going to let the world know which networks I know about, and also which lines I can actually broadcast RIP updates on. So I'm going to say anything in the .1 network and anything in the .2 network. So I'm going to say network 92.168.1.0. I'm going to say network 192.168.2.0. And I'm going to go and do end. If I do a show IP route, I'm at the exact same place that I started with. I only see my connected routes. And the reason for that is I only have one router in the game. So it's only going to send RIP updates to other routers, and it has to have two routers running RIP in order for it to work. So let's go ahead and set up the next router. So config T, router RIP. And then this one knows about this .3 network and the .2 network. So really you just send out all the networks that this router knows about. So you don't think of like networks you wanted to know about. You think of what does it already know about and what do you want it to tell other routers about. The rest of the network finding will be done by the RIP protocol. So on this router, I'm just saying the 3 network and the 2 network. So it's going to broadcast this network exists, and it's going to be allow network traffic over this link. And then this router over here is going to broadcast that the 1 network exists, and it's going to go over the link. Now if I do an end and do a show IP route, you'll see that it's already working. The R stands for RIP. It took 1 hop, and the 120 is how believable it is. So you notice the static route was a 1 before. That means static routes are really believable. That means that the network admin knows what they're talking about. With a RIP route, it's only so much believable. You'll see that there's some other routes that might be a little bit better. So it has to choose between a RIP route and another route. It might take the other route. But that's setting up routes with RIP. If I do a ping right now, it should work. And there it was successful. It's really easy to use. That's probably its biggest benefit. The downside, like I said though, it doesn't handle the classless stuff.